What's up, everybody? So, I've had a lot of people tell me that I need to get my story out. I need to tell people what I've been through, what I've done, and just get the word out that no matter what you've been through and no matter what you've done, no matter how harsh of a life you think you've led, you are worthy of forgiveness and you are worthy of God's grace. Um, my life, my life's never been easy. This isn't easier for me to talk about, but I'm gonna put it out there. At age 6, I was molested and raped by an uncle. Things were done to me that, well, you can put it together. And my mind blocked it out until I was much older, until I was a teenager. And throughout all that, I dealt with physical and emotional abuse from my stepfather. I actually spent a year of my life grounded to my house for something that I had no control over, nothing that I did. My family was afraid that my birth father was going to literally kidnap me. So I spent a whole year of my life not knowing why I couldn't leave the yard. And then at age 12, I dealt with my first dose of actual death. My cousin Dawn, who I was very close to, was taken from me in a car accident. She was killed on the day that her fiance asked her to marry him. They were both killed from somebody who suffered seizures and shouldn't have been driving. And that kind of spiraled into a lifestyle of anger, drug abuse. Had my bouts with the law at age 19. I was homeless. I was a drug addict. I was a meth addict. I would go as far as breaking into my dealer's house and stealing from him. I lived on the streets. Anywhere that I could gain shelter, I would. I would go weeks without bathing, without eating. I would go long periods of time. All I wanted was my dope. And then one night at the freeway, for those of you who know Clovis area, this was right around the time where they were building the overpass at, or the freeway on-ramp at 168 and Shaw. I was living in a ditch. And I heard my cousin Dawn's voice, weeping, saying, "Why? What are you doing?" And I feel like that was my first encounter with God. I feel like God sent her to talk to me because he knew that she would be the only one I would listen to. So, fast forward, a few years of battling drug addiction, in and out. And my drug of choice was methamphetamine and marijuana. I did a lot. And finally called my grandfather, who in his right mind, in his own right, had already gone through everything. When I was 16, he was shot point blank in a home invasion, and he lived through that. Um, all he wanted was his grandson to be healthy again. So he came and picked me up and kind of locked me in a room and wouldn't let me out until I sobered up. And kind of got my life back on track for a minute, and was going in and out of bad relationships, and got married to somebody who cheated on me and turned me against my whole family. I I I did things to my mom and dad that I wasn't proud of. Um, kind of turned my back on my dad, on my stepdad, and he he was there for me when people would otherwise run. I was never the easiest kid to raise. Um, Ended up breaking up with her, and moved in with a friend, and started getting these messages on my MySpace page, which is funny because I hadn't even been using MySpace for a while. This was after Facebook blew up and everybody kind of made the transition over to Facebook, but I kept getting these messages from this beautiful woman, um, wanting to know more about me, wanting to know, you know, more about who I was. I guess she had a friend of a friend of a friend who was on my friends list, and it was funny because at the time I'm like, there's no way this person's real. I thought I was being hit up for an ad or some creepy old dude. You know how that goes. Um, but it turned out to be Jamie, my wife now. Um, we got together and she was helping me through some stuff. Um, I found myself being homeless again. I wasn't a drug addict at the time. I had been clean, but just um, life kind of life kind of kicked me in the butt. And the first few months of us dating, my wife was doing everything she could to help me through that time, renting hotel rooms for me so I wouldn't sleep on the street. At some points, even sleeping next to me in her car, just so I had a roof over my head. Um, no rhyme or reason. I mean, we weren't even dating that long, but she saw something in me. Um, she saw something that was worth working on and trying to help. Um, and and this is before we got saved and before we started heading to the church and stuff, but we became pregnant. And first we panicked a little bit, but then we were like, okay, we're gonna do the best we can for our child. And me and my stepfather were able to patch things up and get back on track and get things the way they needed to be. Um, and then our daughter Courtney came, and then something happened to me. I don't know how else to explain it, but something in me got to me, and I I started to stray from my girls, my wife, and we weren't married at the time, but I started talking to girls online and just being a deplorable SOB. I'm not proud of who I was, and we ended up splitting up for a while. And at the time, I'll never forget it. At the time, I was working at a head shop, and for those of you who don't know, head shops is where you sell marijuana pipes and paraphernalia and stuff. I'm not proud of it. And then a friend of mine came in because we sold tattoo supplies, and I like tattoos, you know. But we sold tattoo supplies, and I had a friend that came in that I hadn't seen in like since I was like 14 years old. And he said, "Hey, you know, we were talking and we were catching up," and I don't know why, but I started telling him my situation, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about church?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've done the church thing." And every time I've gone to church, I always sit down and I always get these looks, people judging me for my appearance, the way I look, and I'm like, it's not really my thing, man. It's not really my bag. But he told me, he was like, no matter what you're going through, God has a way of getting you through it, and He has a way of giving you the answer that you need right at that moment. Something about that stuck with me. And first he invited me to a men's breakfast. And I went, and I met some people from the church that I go to now. And what they were talking about really kind of hit home with me. So I was like, maybe this is kind of what I need. Maybe, and not so much, mind you, me and Jamie had split up. Like, we were done. Like, I broke her heart. But I knew for my daughter's sake, if I was going to be any kind of dad, I needed to get myself right. So I went to church. And I was greeted by a pastor, and he made me feel so welcome. He made me feel at home. Made me feel like I belonged. And I went a few weeks, and I started to get comfortable. And I'll never forget this. At the end of our church, there's usually, it's loosely like an altar call. They don't call you to the front and put you on blast, but they have you raise your hand up, and when the time came and they asked if you want to put your hand up, I did. I felt in my heart, I felt God tugging on me. I felt God, getting to me. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready. And I think that moment I gave myself to the Lord. And I was still kind of cynical, I guess, in a way. I still, and at the end of our services, you have an opportunity to go up to the prayer team. They're all up front, and they'll pray over you if you have anything that you feel you need prayer over, whether it be sickness or a certain financial thing or a mental thing. Like in my case, I was going through some stuff, and they'll pray over you. They'll help you out. Well, I'm not, for those of you who know me, believe it or not, I'm not a very public person. I guess you wouldn't be able to tell that now, seeing me at church. Go figure. But I'm kind of, I don't want to be all up in that. I don't want to put everything I don't want to put my life on blast like that, but something pulled me up front at the end of service, and I started to walk up. I felt so weird walking up, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I know whatever's going on with me. I need prayer. I need prayer. I need prayer. And right when, and I mean, my eyes locked with the gentleman up front, ready to pray for me. Our eyes locked, and somebody came and cut me off and cut in front of me. And I'm like, oh man, these flipping Christians, man, same old, same old. They you know, it's all about me, I, and you know, and they just cut off the newbie, and I was ready to walk away. And right when I turned, Pastor Randy Hand was sitting there, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you need prayer?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And I told him my situation. I told him that I had lost, you know, my girl, and I lost my daughter's looking at having split parents and the whole nine. And right then and there, Randy prayed over me, and I wept. I was a wreck. And after that, things started to change. It was amazing. Somehow, Jamie got word that I was going to church, and she was like, "Oh, what, you think you're going to go to church to impress me?" And I'm like, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to change me. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And then something crazy happened. Jamie started going to church with me. She started to sit by me. And in time, we started to repair our relationship. Just to co-parent. And one of the greatest miracles happened. God brought us together again. And I'm proud to say, a couple of years later, I made her my wife. And we're together now. And we're stronger than we've ever been. And God's improving me every day. I am a walking, talking example of the things that God can do if you give him a chance. It's okay to feel apprehensive. It's okay to be scared. But in your darkest time, in your lowest point, do you really have anything to lose? I know I didn't, you know, and if God can take a drug addict idiot like me with kind of a temper and bad attitude, and, you know, now, I mean, shoot, I'm one of the coaches of the usher ministry. I get the opportunity and the honor to serve those that were like me when they're walking in. And no matter what you think you've done that disqualifies you or makes you feel like you're not worthy or whatever of God's word or God's blessing, let him in. Let him surprise you. Give him a chance. I'm glad I did. So, you know, I know I've been going on for a minute, and if any of you have hung on to hear what I've said, I hope that you take to heart what I've said, and you know, this is just kind of a small sample of everything that I've seen in my 39 years here on this planet. But I'll tell you, for every day that God sees fit to grant me on this planet, I'm going to serve him, and I'm going to do what I can so nobody has to deal with what I have to. And if you are dealing with what I did, I'm here. hit me up. I'm always open to talk. There's no topic taboo with me. And I won't go blasting your stuff out. But if you need a shoulder to cry on or you need somebody to talk to, I am here. You are worth saving. You are worth fighting for. You are worth it. And I pray every day that you know that. And I pray that you see how good you are and how valuable you are. In my days, I've been able to pray for friends. I've been able to save friends. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that I've seen. I just pray that you too find your answer just as I did. And I pray that this video helps you a little bit. So, if you guys like this video, if you want to hear a little bit more, let me know in the comments. Let me know what's up. Let me know if I'm blowing smoke. But until then, until next time, God bless. Have a good night. And I'm thinking about you guys. Peace out.